Alright guys, today is your mini lesson for Wednesday, April 15th. We're going to be talking about common theme. So we read one poem yesterday. I read one to you about hope, and then you read Langston Hughes' Dreams poem. You had to come up with a theme for that poem. Today we are going to find a common theme for two different poems. So I'm going to first read two poems to you and kind of fill out a similar chart and come up with a common theme. And then you guys are going to be doing the same on your own with two different poems, finding a common theme. So this is similar to what we did 2 weeks ago before spring break. You guys had to watch or read two short stories and find a common theme for them. So it's something that is review for you. The only difference is this time you're doing it with poems. So that could actually make it a little bit easier. There's less to read. So the first poem that I'm going to read in our mini lesson today is called Loveliest of A.E. Housman. And then the second poem is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. So just by looking at the two titles of the poems here, the first thing that I notice is in A.E. Housman's poem, Loveliest of Trees, it has the word tree. And then in Robert Frost's poem, it has the words woods and snowy evening. So if I think about trees, snow, and woods, there's already like some common words there, right? They're talking about things that are outside, maybe associated with nature, right? So just by looking at the titles of the poems, I'm already making a connection of how they're similar. And that might help us with our common theme that we're going to come up with. So the first poem is called Loveliest of Trees. Loveliest of trees, the cherry now is hung with bloom along the bough, and stands about the woodland ride, wearing white for Eastertide. Now, of my 80 years and 10, 20 will not come again, and take from 70 springs a score, leaves me 50 more. And since to look at things in bloom, 50 springs are little room, about the woodlands I will go to see the cherry hung with snow. So in that poem, we can kind of summarize that our speaker is talking about how he is young right now. He's 20. He says 20 will not come again. So he's saying that he's 20 now. He's not going to turn 20 ever again in his life, right? And then he's saying, and take from 70 springs a score, it only leaves me 50 more. So he's talking about years in his life here. Might be kind of hard for you to figure out. But he's saying he's 20 now, and he probably only has 50 years left, right? So he wants to stop and look at things in bloom. So things that are blooming, things that are coming alive from the snow, right? 50 springs are little room, about the woodlands I will go to see the cherry hung with snow. So he wants to explore and appreciate the beauty of nature while he is young. This is kind of what our speaker is trying to get across to us. The second poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, we are going to read that one, and then as I'm reading this to you, I want you to think about, what does this poem have in common with Loveliest of Trees? What connections are you making? How are they similar? Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in a village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake, asks if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So what I noticed right away is that our speaker sounds like he's kind of on a journey, and he says that he's between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So I'm thinking this is sometime in winter, has very, very long days and nights. And he's talking about how he is in the woods kind of traveling. He says they're lovely, dark, and deep, and he has promises to keep and miles to go before he sleeps. So his journey is very long, but even though it's winter, he's still stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So he's stopping to appreciate the snow around him, the beauty around him. That's what I noticed was similar between this poem and then the one I just read to you, The Loveliest of Trees. They're both stopping in time in their life at that very moment to appreciate the beauty of nature around them. So that's something I noticed right off the bat. And I'm thinking I can even maybe turn that into a common theme for both these poems. So that's something that helps me when I am reading to kind of just stop and compare in my mind and find similar words or similar like topics that are discussed in the poems when I'm thinking about theme. So from here, I'm going to fill out a chart similar to the one you filled out yesterday. I'm going to think about 2 poems this time instead of just one. And then at the bottom, you're going to see it says, what would be a common theme for both theme below? And again, answering these questions for the poems are going to help you develop this theme. So I went ahead and did this for the poems we just read to kind of give you guys an example to refer to as you were reading your own 2 poems today. So what are the problems in the poem? So just looking at the Loveliest of Trees, the problem in the story is that the speaker knows he cannot slow down time. He knows that he is only 20 for this one moment in time. He's not going to turn 20 in 5 more years, right? He's going to age. So that's a problem. He's just noticing that, he's not getting any younger, kind of like Miss B and I. We're not getting any younger. We're going to be 30 this year. Well, she'll be 30 next year. And then what words stand out to you? I said, 20 will not come again. That really stood out to me. That made me think, I'm 29. I'm not going to turn 29 again, right? And then it only leaves me 50 more. So he's kind of thinking about how many years left he has to live. And that's kind of honest and creepy in a way, I think, but it makes you think. So I liked it. So I wanted to include that. And then what emotions are those words associated with? And I said, if I'm thinking I'm never going to be 20 again, I'm longing to stay young. I desire to appreciate certain things in this moment in time in my life right now. I'm also full of wonder and wondering what my future holds or, what I need to do in the time that I have. And then I also felt, as I read those words, an appreciation for my life and realizing, I'm only going to be this young once and I need to start appreciating that. And I think our speaker of the poem felt those same things. So I answered those 3 questions for the first poem, and now I'm going to answer the same 3 questions for the second poem, just like you guys are going to do. So what is the problem in stopping by the woods on a snowy evening? The speaker is worn old and tired and has many miles before he can rest, which is true. I just talked about that, saying that, he's traveling, he's worn old from being in the cold, in the winter, and those long nights. And he realizes he has many miles he can go before he can rest. But he's still stopping to take time to appreciate the things around him. The words that stood out to me were miles to go before I sleep. So just like thinking about that, like I have all these miles to travel before I can just go to bed at night. That's kind of crazy. And then easy wind and downy flake. I didn't talk about this when I explained the poem, but easy wind and downy flake, he's talking about how the wind isn't blowing hard or anything like that, and there's snow falling. So when he's stopping in time on his journey, he is seeing, he stopped enough to realize, like, hey, there's no wind really, and then it's snowing. So he took the time to appreciate the beauty in that. And then what emotions are those words associated with? Obviously, tiredness. He says he has many miles to go before he can rest. Gratitude, because he's appreciating the woods and the snow and the wind around him, and kind of a longing for that beauty. He wants to stop and see it because he realizes that it's beautiful. And also, he's longing to probably end his journey and be able to rest. So by answering all those questions and kind of thinking about what is common, they both have a speaker that is on a journey almost, both in a journey of life and realizing that they don't have a lot of time. Like if you think about it, none of us have like an endless amount of time here. So they are stopping to kind of appreciate the beauty around them. And they're taking time out of their lives to kind of stop and look around and see the beauty of the world. So I said, life moves fast, and it's important to remember to slow down and enjoy the beauty of the world around us. And I got all of that from just looking at the titles of the poems to start with, by analyzing them, thinking about the problems in the poems, what words stood out to me, and what emotions I felt as I read. And that is something that we want you guys to practice today. So what you are going to be doing are you are going to be reading 2 poems, one by Shel Silverstein, which I'm sure you guys have heard of before, and then Langston Hughes again. These poems are a little bit longer, but I'm going to read them to you. So the first poem is called No Difference. Small as a peanut, big as a giant, we're all the same size when we turn off the light. Rich as a sultan, poor as a mite, we're all worth the same when we turn off the light. Red, black or orange, yellow or white, we all look the same when we turn off the light. So everything right is for God to just reach out and turn off the light. This poem might seem pretty simple, but I think it is very impactful and powerful. Obviously, it's getting at the fact that all of us are human, we're all the same. And when we turn off the lights, it's all dark and all of us are literally the same. So it's pretty powerful in the fact that, it's saying that we're the same no matter what color skin we have, no matter what size we are, no matter how wealthy or poor we are. When you turn off the light, we're all equal, we're all the same. So that's what that poem is kind of talking about. So keep that in mind. The second poem that you guys are going to be reading is called I Dreamed a World by Langston Hughes. I dream a world where man no other man will scorn, where love will bless the earth and peace its path adorn. I dream a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul, nor avarice blights our day. A world I dream where black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of earth, and every man is free, where wretchedness will hang its head, and joy, like a pearl, attends the needs of all mankind. Of such a dream, my world. So right off the bat, I noticed that both of these poems are talking about how humans are not different from each other in the fact of, the color of our skin or how much money we have. And in this poem specifically, the speaker is talking about how he wishes that he's dreaming of a world where man will not scorn each other based on the color of their skin, based on how much money they have, where all of us are free and everyone experiences joy. And that is the world he is dreaming of. And there are a lot of similarities to both of these poems. And you need to think about that. If I were you, I would reread them and kind of as you're reading, compare them in your mind. So after that, you guys are going to be filling out the chart that I just showed you from the 2 poems we read together. So the top here, No Difference, is the title of the first poem, and then I Dream a World is the title of the second poem. So you're going to be answering the questions. What are the problems in this poem? Think about No Difference first. We're talking about how no matter, when we turn off, all of us are the same. It doesn't matter what color we are, how much money we have, what size we are, right? So those are the problems that they are addressing. And then what words stand out to you? This is exactly the same thing as you guys did yesterday. You're just answering the questions for 2 different poems. Then what emotions are those words associated with? When you reread those phrases from the poems, what emotion are you feeling? Write that down. And then once you have filled out this chart, we want you to come up with a common theme for both poems. So a life lesson that we can take away from both of these poems. Okay, you're just going to write that theme below and you're going to turn in your slides. All right, and that's it. Please email us if you have any questions. Thank you.